Editor of The Sun, Ryan Saby, to go through the Sunday papers.
Morning,
Good morning to both of you. Lovely to have you here. And we're kicking off with the Sunday Telegraph, first of all, Ryan, aren't we? Their headline is Union Eyes Labour Exit over Starmer. I mean, this would be big news if this happens. Talk us through what's being threatened.
Yeah, I think it would be big news in terms of just look how much money Unite have given the party over the past 25 years, some £50 million. So it'd be a big sort of symbolic move, but it'd be a big hit to the party financially. But there seems a whole host of reasons why they want to sort of potentially break away. They just don't seem to be very impressed with the way that Keir Starmer is taking the party. They also don't like recent watering down of the employment rights package that has come in. But also they look at the budget as well. Why did this budget, they say, attack workers and not millionaires or billionaires? Why are they paying the price for sort of Labour's handling of the economy? So the whole host of things that they're really angry about. Now, it seems like a big step to actually go to a formal disaffiliation, but I think the fact that this story has appeared, there are soundings within the union movement that they're angry. This is a warning sign to Keir Starmer to sort of buck his ideas up.
A warning to Keir Starmer or a warning to Keir Starmer step aside and let's get someone in that we back? What do you think? Is it about him personally, do you think?
I think this is a warning shot to say you've got a few months to sort of make amends. But they will be lining up their people, or maybe their chosen person, maybe Angela Rayner or Wes Streeting to actually try and move in and be that successor. But it's interesting this story has appeared.
I mean, what we were talking about yesterday, weren't we, with this dual ticket of Wes Streeting, potentially Angela Rayner. I think that was in the Telegraph as well. And you mentioned some of the things that were said by the leader of Unite, Sharon Graham, talking about the decisions that were made in the budget. I mean, they would have thought, the backbenchers, that much of the budget was to kind of appease Labour people. You know, it was a Labour budget. That's some of the commentary. And yet the leader of the biggest union is not happy with that.
This is such an important sign. I completely agree with you that it's a shot across the bow, specifically for Keir Starmer, pointing out that Labour has always traditionally been the party of the workers and the unions, and you can't get far politically without the support of those people. Otherwise, you're going to have parties which are either going further and further towards the extremes or tumbling in towards the centre, so there's no differentiation between them. So I think this is a very important statement on the part of Unite to say, look, remember what your original values are and remember too who your main body of voters are. We can make it very uncomfortable for you. We can make Keir Starmer feel isolated even within his own parties. And the interesting position for Labour now is that, as exactly you mentioned, there are lots of other candidates who could fit right in, and not badly either.
Well, yes, and I noticed in the copy that they quote one MP, not named, saying it would be very difficult for Keir Starmer to remain leader should Unite disaffiliate. And what's the sense you're getting, Ryan? You talk to loads of people at Westminster, and we're getting loads of stories in the papers, obviously being fed by various factions, but what do you make of all these rumblings, and how long has Keir Starmer got, do you think?
I think after the budget, because it appeased the Labour MPs, they were impressed with several bits of it. But I think he's bought himself 6 months. He will get. I think him and Rachel Reeves will get to the local elections in May, and then I think all bets are off. And then we'll see the results in Scotland, Wales, local elections in England, and I think it looks like they're going to be really bad for them, and I think then you will get some movement. But it will take someone in the cabinet, maybe 2 or 3 people, to actually go in there and say to Keir Starmer, your time is up. That's a bold move, and also whoever comes in, they're going to need the sort of groundswell of support from the parliamentary party as well. There are lots of rumblings, lots of talk about it, but it's still going to be a big move when that actually happens.
I'm just going to skip us on, actually, in our order, because the Observer have got the Prime Minister on the front page, fighty, gloves off, fists... Is that nearly...
Fighty, did you
fighty,
say?
yeah, fighty, actually. They've got his fighty, feisty. It's almost he's making a fist there, isn't he? I think he's making a point rather than actually being aggressive, but it's, it's decided that he's going to fight on. I mean, You've probably spoken to the man, you know the man. What sense do you get as to... I mean, he wants to defend himself, but will he have that feeling that, as you were saying yesterday, Anna, if he is seen to be bringing the entire party down, he might well make the decision that he needs to step aside?
I think at the moment the feeling is that they know they've had a really horrible, terrible, 18 months or so. But I think he himself is in defiant mode. He got in to change the party at first. They said that he couldn't do that. He wants to change they said he couldn't win the election. He won a big landslide, and now he wants to change the country. Now he's trying to get on with that. But it's interesting. He is defiant, and he just wants to get on the job. There's no big thing. The big vision of Starmerism is just being practical and just seeing the problems and trying to actually solve them.
So, Badisha, what's your sense on this? I mean, if he has got 6 months to prove himself before the local elections might decide his fate, what does he need to do you think, to turn things around?
Well, I read every word of this interview, and it seems like too little, too late, because finally, late into his political career, he's rediscovered his fight. I had always watched him because of his law career, and he really stood up for people who are involved in the criminal justice system. He's so ambitious, and I thought, he really wants to be PM. When he finally got there, I was underwhelmed. I thought, where is the charisma? Where is the idea of Starmerism? What does he stand for? And even in this interview, which I think is really quite a softball interview, I mean, this will go for a walk and, he gets these nice questions. He's not pressed incredibly hard. And, in fact, he doesn't give much away. He's described as a technocrat, exactly as you say. And that is actually very good in leadership if you also have charisma and you have a bold vision that you roll out. So for him to be on the front, in fact, I love the idea of you seeing this as fighty, because to me this is a kind of harking back to the days of, if anyone remembers, Tony Blair would do this a lot, because he was saying, this is my vision for new...
I think we would advise not to point.
Not point.
Yes, you don't point.
Bill Clinton used to do it quite a lot.
And if you apologise, you sort of kind of go, I'd like this. This is what he's trying to do, but if he's only got 6 months, and we've seen what the past few years have been like, is that really enough time to completely change your image, not only amongst the public and the media, but also amongst your grassroots voters and Labour Party members?
Especially while all these stories around are talking about who is going to replace him, right?
There's two big issues he's got to solve: the economy and the small boats issue. He's just not going to have enough time to do it before then, so then it will become decision day for all those MPs.
Let's take us on to the Sunday Times, shall we?
There's a fascinating story here that they have about David Lammy and this huge move to get rid of jury trials for certain... And you're sighing already, because I can tell that you're not happy with this decision. Take us through the reporting.
This is an agglomeration of lots of different issues. So women's rights campaigners, or let's say rape survivors, rape victims campaigners, have said for a very long time that the way sexual assault trials have been conducted has been completely flawed. Complainants drop out very early in the process. Juries themselves come in with lots of rape myths, such as why was she wearing a short skirt, why was she walking alone at night, all of this other stuff. And now a separate issue is the massive backlog we've had in criminal trials across all different sorts of crimes. We saw it happening in the pandemic, lots of rollovers towards Zoom trials and Zoom hearings. And now David Lammy, the Justice Secretary, is trying to tackle one thing by citing another. And he's saying that, OK, because of court delays, people who've been through a sexual assault and tried to bring their perpetrator to justice, well, they're dropping out because of court delays. And actually, all the research shows that there's a number of reasons, and that people often drop out far earlier in the process. So
he's saying 60% are dropping out because of the delay.
Said on Sky News to Sophie.
But in fact, I think it's after charging, I think it's 8% drop out, isn't it? So there's a sort of detail there
that's exactly right. And then the issue also is that up to 90% of the actual crimes don't get anywhere near police or charging or anything at all, because victims don't feel they'll be believed. They don't want to tangle with this very intimidating justice process. They think that the worst has already happened, so why go through it in the first place? And so this is a very triggering issue for lots of people. And exactly as you point out, the actual facts break down in a much more subtle way. I think what Lammy's trying to do really is clear this backlog.
Make the case for clearing the backlog.
Make the case, but why are we suddenly having big-scale debates about whether or not to have a jury system? That's separate from all of this more recent, kind of 5 years recent issue.
I mean, it's described here by one of the lawyers as a cynical attempt to try and do it. I happened to speak to a Labour MP about this, and she used that same word, that she felt it's cynical, that he used that argument to Sophie on Sky News as the immediate reason as to why this was being done. This MP made the argument, as you'd make a Badisha, that there is so much more going on, and
there's so many issues in the court system, whether witnesses get to court on time, whether you actually get the defendant attendance on court on time. The judges, I think they still do their own scheduling. Evidence goes missing. I think if you can try and sort out those issues, this is maybe one part of it, but there seems a whole bigger picture to actually look at.
Yeah. OK, let's move on, shall we? That's a subject that we could talk about for a long time, but let's move on to the Sunday Mirror. They have what they claim is an exclusive, putting a number on the amount of money lost to fraud during the COVID pandemic.
Yes, this is not so much of an exclusive as a kind of splash that keys into all of our outrage about how various main bodies, not just governments, but I think also large companies, handled the COVID situation. It pulls in PPE, it pulls in hundreds of thousands of people who've been bereaved, and so now they've got this 10.9 million.
It's a big number.
It's a billion. It's a B, which means a billion, and they're talking about furlough handouts and bounce-back loans and eat out to help out and all of these very unfortunate and not wholly successful enterprises which were launched to deal with COVID. It is damning, but I think that this is a little bit of a headline-y headline, and I don't think it's party political, because a pandemic is something which really can't be war gamed, it can't be planned for. I'm not sure that any one party or another would handle it better than any other for any political reason. In fact, I think that then Chancellor Rishi Sunak handled it as best he could, and that's why your newspapers are grubbing around to find a kind of shock headline. It's definitely true that the economics of all of this maybe could have been saved and maybe could have been limited down. But the £10.9 billion figure, as if that a big scam has happened, or as if lots of people somehow got benefits that they didn't deserve, I don't think that's quite exactly it.
And will people be too shocked to read the headline? I think lots of people kind of knew that there were deals that didn't work out. Do you think that people will be surprised?
No, I think over time people have realised that this kind of issue, there was very little oversight in this, and also look how much money was actually spent during the pandemic on furlough. The government budget is £1 trillion. So I think £10 billion in the scheme of things, when they know that the politicians were trying to do their best to get PPE out the door as quickly as possible, I think you just have to take a hit on something like this, as difficult as it is.
Move us on, Ryan, to a story that you were telling us about. In the break, we were talking about this because we couldn't actually read the article just because the photocopier has smudged it for some reason. So you're going to have to take us through it, but it sounds like a really interesting plan.
Yes, this is the Co-op Academy in Bellevue in Gorton up in Manchester, and one of the big issues, we had an Ofsted annual report out this week talking about an attendance crisis as being endemic in schools, and one way they're trying to get attendance up is by trying to have a raffle every term and giving away TVs, gift vouchers. And by attending a lot, you get tickets into the raffle, and you get more chance to win. So it's a shame that we actually have to go through this to actually get kids into school. But if they do get into school, and they all look pretty happy in this picture with their big TVs and bikes and what have you.
It's a nice looking bike.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think, Vidisha? I mean, if it does solve a truancy problem, is it a good idea?
I'm torn between making a joke about that you now have to bribe children to go to school, but actually, exactly as you say, these kids look totally delightful, and buried deep inside the article is the fact that over 60% of pupils at this school come from lower income families, and when you see the quotes from the teachers and the heads, what they're really talking about is a disaffection with school. And some of the kids are not showing up to class because they're scared that they don't have their lunch money. So they don't want to be humiliated and shown up, so they would rather, out of shame and embarrassment, not turn up at all.
Miss school entirely.
Yeah, they'd rather miss school entirely. So it is a little bit more complex than that, and I am very wary of people coming in and going, oh, well, these, Generation Alpha or Generation -1, oh, they're so anxious. I don't think it's about that. I think it's about trying to reinvest in young people a sense that school is beneficial, and not just because you learn, but because you have social skills as well. But I was going to make a crack that perhaps we could induce you to come into Sky if we gave you vouchers for, like, a new photocopier or something.
Just porridge would do it, to be honest.
We are under Israeli